What's up, everybody? Billy Botayev here with the Willamette Valley Spotlight podcast, where we get together with our local professionals to chat a little bit about who they are, what they do, and how they're making an impact in their communities today. Now, today's guest for season number 2 is Mike Hill of Hilltop Property Group. And welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm Mike Hill, Hilltop Property Group. My wife and I are team leads and founders of the Hilltop Property Group. And we've got about 15 members on our team and serve the Willamette Valley and surrounding areas. And yeah, we just like to have a good time. So
your group is actually statewide. You got people in Bend and in Southern Oregon. So how does that work with running a group like that when it's all across the state? How does that work out?
Well, yeah, we've got a lot of people in a lot of different places. Kind of the what's that? The old saying? I don't know, but we'll get back to that. So Zoom and technology in general really help us stay plugged in and connected with our team. So they kind of hop in on all the calls that we do. Even with the people that are on our team locally, we do hop on Zooms together and work and encourage each other and make sure that we're intentional about getting together in person and just stay plugged in. So
that's cool. So you mentioned that you run this team with your wife.
Yes.
So how does that work with balancing work and family and everything else that goes in between? What does that look like for you guys?
Well, it actually is it can be tough, but it's also really awesome. Like, so Jordan brings a lot to the table that I suck at, like creating processes and systems. And though I know they're very important, I have no talent for that. She's really good with that stuff. And I'm like a good idea fairy where I come up with a lot of different things, and she's like, that's good, that's not good, that's not going to work. And she's multifaceted, so she does that too, but also all the other back end stuff. So, but with that, she also understands the needs and the demands of the industry. So we're able to really balance each other out as far as like parenting and our business and just having to be really intentional with our marriage. We both get each other and what it takes to make that successful.
So you mentioned the word intentional. Like what does that mean for your business as you're growing, not only within the Willamette Valley but statewide of Oregon? What is intentional for you?
Man, intentional for us, like, and for me personally, is just, great question. Let me think on that for just a sec.
Yeah. When I think about the word intentional, it's a little bit of doing something with a purpose, at least for me. So, I wake up every day thanking God for giving me another day, and I'm intentionally, purposely making the attempt for good every day when I wake up, whether it's having conversations with my wife or my kids when I know they love to push my buttons, and it's doing things intentionally. I think purpose, like finding your purpose a little bit.
Okay, so I'll just take you kind of to the start of my day, how I start my day with intention. So I get up early, I get into my Bible, I do my gratitude stuff. I make sure that what I'm doing is in line with what God has for my life, and to live intentionally that way. And then, I seek clarity every day with, I have who I'm striving to be, and then I reverse engineer that through my daily actions and what I'm doing that day. So I just make sure that everything that's on my schedule is in line with my bigger purpose and is going to be something that's going to move the needle every day in my life. So, as far as like intentionality goes, I make sure that everything that I'm doing is in line with my life and my path. And time's our most valuable asset. So you can make all the money in the world, but you can't make any time. So so the time that we do have, it's super important that we make sure that we are as intentional with it as we can be, you know.
There
So
were there was a video that struck me that I was watching the other day, and it was talking about a little bit on the lines of intentionality. And you can work as hard and as fast and as difficult as you want, um, but at the end of the day, the only people that remember how hard you worked and how late you were from home were your kids. And
exactly.
I think bringing that intentionality into our workplace, um, again, you talked about time. Time is, we don't have infinite amount of time. So making sure that when we are doing those daily activities over those phone calls or those meetings, there's intentionality with it and there's purpose. So that way we have that space in our hearts and our minds and our cups to be able to come home and be intentional with our kids, not just, not just sitting there or doing whatever, we're still working when we get home, intentionally making sure we have time for all facets of life, no matter what we go through.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, recently went to a real estate conference, and somebody framed it perfectly where, you know, kind of made you think just really deep inside yourself and what you're doing with your life. And he said it was on the topic of legacy, and he's like, I just think of being at my own funeral and being a spectator, and you know, I just think about who's there, you know, and what are they saying about me, and what contributions did I leave, you know, and that really struck me, and so it kind of made me take a step back and think about like, man, what am I doing? Like what are my kids gonna say when I'm gone? Like how did I impact them, you know? So
Right.
yeah, yeah, super powerful stuff. So yeah, I, you know, intentionally take my kids on dates, for example. I'll take each kid on a date every week just to check in with them, see how they're doing, making sure that they're good and they feel loved, and you know, we're just really transparent with each other. So
You mentioned impact, and creating an impact not only with your life and legacy. What does impact mean for you for at least community and life? What is that for you guys and for your team or for your family?
yeah, so impact for me is um, making a real difference, kind of like leaving your legacy. What I want to do with my life and the legacy I want to leave is a life of impact where I was able to bridge the gap for somebody between who they are versus who they want to be. And, you know, right now for me, that platform is real estate. And, you know, I was blessed to get into this industry, and now I have a way to reach people. So this is, you know, just the beginning of that impact season for me. So, yeah, just looking for that stuff, like we talked about intentionality. Like the more you seek those opportunities out, the more you're going to find. So, just being intentional and conscious of every interaction you have with somebody, that's the real impact. So before I interact with anybody, before you and I met today, I was like, man, Lord, show me how I can be a positive impact or influence on Billy today, um, and conversely, like be open to like things that I can learn too. Right? So we can't leave an impact without also being poured into by other people. So
Yeah.
so yeah.
I think that that's very true in a lot of aspects. I mean, I think from people working from home, people, I think probably distancing themselves a lot over these last couple of years and learning how to get back into that. Because I know for me, um, kind of my day-to-day interactions fill my cup. They keep me motivated. They keep me pushing towards my goals. And when you're not um, taking those times to make those interactions, um, yeah, it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks a lot.
Yeah.
So moving things on, as we've kind of moved past pandemic stuff, we're working through changing real estate markets, changing economic markets. Has there been any changes from how you work day to day in this last year with your team, with your family, with what stuff you have going on? How has that situation either changed or kept you guys solid with what you're doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of the story of how we even got into real estate was, well, Jordan got licensed before I did, just before the pandemic, and um, I credit the pandemic to me getting licensed because I had a little bit more downtime where I could sit and think and stew on my thoughts, and Jordan was needing some help with some transactions she was doing, and I was like, man, I have some time, let's see what this real estate thing's all about. So I got licensed and I was able to help a young couple. This is kind of where the impact thing goes, and they impacted me more than I impacted them. But they were 21 years old buying their first property, uh, and I got to help them do that, and it was just I don't know, it was changed my world. So
Yeah.
once I closed that deal, I told Jordan, I was like, I don't know what we need to do, but I need to go full time into real estate. So whatever that looks like, let's make it happen. So I did that, and yeah, the rest is history there. So yeah.
So what does that mean for you then? Like, for, having that feeling of doing good, like, what is real estate for you? What is the, coming back to purpose, like, and stuff, like, what is for you and your team and for your family, what is the purpose? What is, I was talking with a friend yesterday about um taking our careers and our day-to-day lives as kind of like a canvas, um and seeing what other people's canvases are, and the good in the world is the paint. Like, what's that
Mhm.
canvas for you? How does real estate affect how, I guess, yeah, purpose of real estate, for if you get kind of like what we're going for there?
Yeah. So I like to look at my life, and I think I mentioned this earlier, but so envisioning who I am destined to be, who I'm supposed to be, and then reverse engineering that person, starting with my daily actions, and then kind of working those. And so real estate for me right now is a way to reach as many people as I possibly can, um, in a way that I can impact them, and build relationships and friendships, because real estate is ultimately a big group of relationships, right?
Yeah.
It's
Is
not.
it more like the byproduct of everything else that you're trying to do?
I think so. Yeah, yeah. Real estate is just a platform to get to where I intention like I ultimately want to be, right? So real estate is one of those platforms for me.
Cool. So let's switch it up a little bit. Let's talk about pickleball. I know you mentioned, I feel like there's a driving movement for pickleball here in the
My other
Northwest or Oregon. Tell me a little bit about that one.
So that's my other platform to reach people. No, yeah, I know it's a blast. So kind of how I got into pickleball. I'm big into basketball. I was shooting hoops at the courthouse one day, and some folks that were playing pickleball there saw me shooting, and then they came and just kind of shoved a paddle in my face, and they're like, "Hey, come try this out." And I was like, "Okay." So, next thing you know, I played a few minutes, and then I was on Amazon later that day getting the full get up to look the part at the very least.
Right.
So yeah, and then I just kind of fell in love, and it's right in line with my competitive nature. I'm super competitive, and
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but also yeah, it's a great way to connect with people. Like, it's just, how you have those hobbies where you just have those niche friends, right? Like, everybody in that group is like a certain type of way, right?
Yep. Yep.
Like pickleball is just like that too, where it's like, I don't know, I feel like I'm hanging out with my friends. That's part of it, and then I also get to go and compete. So it's a good time.
Yeah, it's kind of like me with barbershop quartets and stuff like that. Everybody knows everybody
Hmm.
for the most part in our little group, and Everyone is kind of the same way. We're all super competitive, so we don't just sing together for fun. We also go out and compete. So it's that competitive nature, and like it's always that strive to be better.
Yeah.
It's like we sing a little thing, or like, okay, that was really good. Now let's do it again. Like that,
Yeah.
we could do better. We could do better. We could do better. It's that constant drive of, I don't know if it's perfection, but it kind of is a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Like if you're not trying to improve in anything that you're doing, then it's like, then what are you doing it
Yeah.
for? You know,
Yeah.
for me, it's like I play so much pickleball now. It's like I got to remember to have fun because I'm obsessed with getting better. It's like, oh yeah, I used to have fun doing this. I got to remember like where's the fun in it, you know? So
Mhm.
finding that balance of improvement while still having a good time doing it, you know. And it's like,
Right.
you know, I think whether it's barbershop quartets or bowling leagues or pickleball, we're all essentially the same person. We just wear different outfits and you know, we
Right.
do different
Right.
activities, but we're all intrinsically the same.
Yeah. So what's next for you guys for this year, for next? What's your goals for Hilltop?
Man, so I want to circle back to the question you asked earlier about like the pandemic, like what we were doing versus what we're doing now, and if there are changes, and there are absolutely changes. So, you know, everybody was kind of footloose and fancy free during the pandemic. You know, times were good except for the whole like pandemic part.
Dying thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Except for that, you know, yeah, no, it was easy, you know, it was shooting fish in a barrel essentially as far as like production was concerned. So we all kind of, especially people that got into the game during the pandemic, we didn't really have a foundation, right? Like we
Right.
just relied solely on the relationships that we built, and uh, there wasn't really a lot of intentionality to go back to our
Yeah, I
to
think
our hot
that's a
word.
key word for today.
Yeah. So circling back to that, yeah, it's like so now, and you're seeing it with a lot of real estate agents and probably, you know, LOs as well. Like people are starting to drop off because there's efforts that are required. And it's like,
Right.
dude, like
Right.
it's starting to get hard. So, for us as leaders, we had to build a foundation for not only our production business, but
Hmm.
also to being a leader, you need to show your team, right? You can't just talk the talk, you got to show them. So,
Right.
so yeah, we've totally restructured our team and kind of what we do to you know to lead generate per se. So so yeah, we all get together from 8 to 10 every morning, and we just reach out to people that we know and that we like and that we'd love to do business with. You know, our business. Our business is based on organic lead generation and just the relationships that we have. We don't buy leads. We don't believe in it. You know, it works for some people, and that's cool. But we truly believe in taking care of people that you know that we like to be around, and you know, so people that we know or people that refer us from people that we know, you know, are our bread and butter, and that's how we prefer to do business because we don't want to spend all of our time trying to build trust with somebody that isn't even interested in that. They just want to buy a house.
It's working with people that you know, like, and trust. I mean, that
Right.
you start there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, starting with people that you know, like the people that you know. Do you like them? Do you not?
Yeah. That's what.
and and then trust, and then ultimately after that, it comes down to value.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of value are you bringing? Are you just a facilitator of a transaction, or do you bring something else to the table for your clients, for your partners, for whoever else you want to strive to work with? So it's like, well, I think a lot of people just like you are bringing value, than more value than just the transaction.
Right.
It's the Because we know so many people. We're the Swiss Army knife of the who's who needs to get stuff done in the world. So whether it's like knowing a plumber or knowing uh, a contractor, or even like, hey, I need some advice. Like
Mm-hmm.
we are kind of like the gurus of everything.
Right.
Do you feel like it's a necessity for that, or do you think it's better to, I guess, go into a little bit more niche territory?
Yeah, no, I think you know, a byproduct of what we do is we do build those relationships along the way, you know, from like a roofer, plumber standpoint. So we do bring that value, but I do believe it's just the connection that we have with the client. Obviously, doing your job at a high level, right? So anybody can learn how to do real estate. Anybody can learn the ins and the outs of contracts and everything else. But you can't. It's a lot harder to learn how to care for another person and to empathize with them when things are tough or whatever else. So it really comes down to the relationship, And I always say, like, I'm at the end of the road, when we're all done with what we're doing, like, we're going to be friends with our clients,
right?
Whether they like it or not,
right?
They have to be. So yeah, it's all relationships at the end of the day.
Yeah. So, where can people get a hold of you or find you, and either social media or website, or what's that look like for you guys?
Yeah. So for me personally, you can find me at Mike Hill Real Estate on Instagram, or you can find us Hilltop Property Group on Instagram, or just Google me. No. Yeah. So yeah, we're pretty present on Instagram or Facebook, and hilltopproperty.group is our website as well. So
cool. Well, if you guys want to find out more about Mike, check out his info on the World Wide Web. And you guys can check out this podcast on Spotify under Willamette Valley Spotlight Podcast. We also have a website, WillametteValleySpotlight.com. But I think that wraps it up here for today. So thanks so much, Mike, for coming on.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Awesome.